Today we're looking at Lesson 2, Combining Like Terms. And so if you look at our essential learnings, they are to perform the distributive property and combine like terms. Before we get going, we need to go over some vocabulary. So the first vocabulary word is a variable. So when we look at a variable is a letter used to represent one or more numbers. And so oftentimes this letter could be X, sometimes it's Y, Z of course, but it could really be any letter. So maybe M. Then if we take a look at coefficient, a coefficient is the number part of a term that also has a variable. And so when we look at a term that has a number and a variable, we're looking at ones that are being multiplied. So you might see something like 2x, in which the 2 is the coefficient. Only the 2. Or maybe it's 4y squared. And in that instance, the coefficient would be 4. Then we look at constant. And a constant is just a number. It has no variable. So some examples of constants would be 5 or 8 or 72. Any number that has no variable. Well, all of these, the variables and the coefficients, can be combined to make terms. And so terms are parts of an expression that are added or subtracted, and that's key. The added or subtracted is very important to know that that's where the split of the terms is. So, for example, if we have 2x plus 4, there are two terms here. One term, I'll try and highlight in a different color, is the 2x, and another term is the 4. Notice the 4 is positive, so like if we were to list out the terms in this one, it would be 2x and 4. The plus sign goes with the next value. And then we have like terms. So once we have a list of all these terms in a row, the like terms are the ones that have the same variable parts. So if we take a look at our first expression here, we have negative 2x minus 8 plus 6x plus 5. And so if we just go through some of the vocabulary that we just looked at, the first one was variable. Notice the only variable in here is x. So x is a variable here. Also, this x over here is a variable. Then, if we look at coefficients, the coefficients are the number part of the term. So just the number part, negative 2, and then look at that, positive 6. Then any constants that we have, this constant, this would be a negative 8, because there's no letter attached to it, and plus 5. Or positive 5. So then we can see, and I know I've marked this up a little bit, the like terms are the ones that have the x's. So we see them here. That's a like term, so is this. And then also the 5 and the negative 8 are also like terms because they have the same variables. In this case, they're both constants. All right, so now we're going to identify the terms, the like terms, the coefficients, the constants of the expression, and then simplify it, or what we say, combine like terms. So now let's go ahead and look at the terms. So terms are connected by plus or minus signs. So anytime we see a plus or minus sign, that's a new term. So we have 7x, and I like to separate them out of my list with commas, just so we know that there's the difference. Then the next one is negative 16, positive 2. Sometimes I do put that plus sign there just to help me remember that it's a positive, and then negative 8x. So those are the four terms. See that there's two minus signs and a plus sign, so that means there's 4 distinct terms here, 7x, negative 16, 2, and negative 8x. Let's go ahead and break this down a little bit. Which of these terms have coefficients? Remember, coefficients are the numbers in front of the letters. So if I just highlight them, -7 or 7 and -8. Notice there's no variables over here. For coefficients, they're the numbers in front. Then we can look at the constants. These are the ones that don't have any letters at all. So -16 and 2. And whether you put a +2 or just leave it as 2, that's fine. Then we look for like terms. Remember, like terms have the same variable and the same exponent when we get to that. So if we look for like terms, we can see that the 7x matches with the -8x, and the -16 matches with the 2. We want to make sure that we look at for like terms so that when we simplify or combine them, we actually just do the operation. So for the like terms first here, 7x and -8x, we really just look at 7x minus 8x. And if we take and subtract 7 minus 8, we get -1x. Then we look at -16 plus 2. -16 plus 2 is -14. So our simplified expression is -1x minus 14. And of course, you can also write this as -x minus 14. Anytime there's no number in front of a variable, that number is 1. Let's do another example. Change pen colors here. All right, so now we have 13xy plus x squared minus xy minus 8x squared. So again, I'm just going to put some squiggly lines down here to help me remember how I'm separating these. So then I can see every time there's a plus or minus sign, there's a new term. And this plus sign goes with the x squared. This negative right here goes with the xy. All right, so now the terms, let's list them out. 13xy, x squared, -xy, and -8x squared. Kind of ran out of room there. Coefficients are the variables in front, or the numbers in front of the letters. Well, looking over here on the left, 13xy plus how many x squareds is this? This is a 1x squared. Minus 1xy minus 8x squared. So it's actually 4 coefficients here. 13, 1, -1, and -8. In this problem, if we take a look, there are no terms that are just numbers. So this one, there's nothing to put there. You can put not applicable, or none, or you can leave it blank. There's no constants. All right, like terms. So we look for the ones that have the same variables and the same exponents. So I'm going to start with the x squareds. So looking at these, I see -8x squared and 1x squared. So those are 2 like terms, 1x squared and -8x squared. Then I also see 13xy and -1xy. They have the exact same variables and same exponents. The only thing that's different is the coefficient, that number in front. So then when we simplify, we look at the like terms. So I'll write off to the left. Sometimes you can do this just mental math, but sometimes it's nice to see it. 1x squared minus 8x squared is -7x squared. And 13xy minus 1xy is 12xy. And that is our simplified expression. Maybe you want to circle your answer. Circle your answers. There we go. All right, let's switch to the distributive property. Distributive property is one of my favorite properties. And so to me, it reminds me of distributing the mail, making sure that everybody gets a piece of mail that's supposed to. And so if I look at this distributive property, you'll notice that there's something in front of a set of parentheses. And this parentheses always means multiply. So when we go to distribute, we're going to multiply the A times the B and the A times the C. And so we would get AB plus AC. Same thing if you're distributing into a negative or a minus sign here. A times B is AB, and A times this minus C is really a negative C, so it's negative AC. So the minus sign stays in the middle there. So that's the distributive property. Let's do some examples. So, first one, -4, and remember these parentheses means multiply. Parentheses means multiply. So we're going to take this -4 and multiply it times the y and times the -2. And so as we do this, I sometimes like to write this out, -4 times y plus -4 times -2. And some of you might be able to do this in mental math, but others, we might need to write that step out. So then as we go, -4 times y is -4y, and -4 times -2, negative times negative is positive, so +8. So our final answer there is -4y plus 8. Number 4. These parentheses look funny, don't they? 4 minus x is listed first, and then there's this -5x off to the side. Well, we can switch the order. Remember, multiplying, it doesn't matter the order you multiply, like 4 times 5 is 20, and so is 5 times 4. And so we can switch this order and put -5x first, and then 4 minus x. And now we could distribute. So I'll change my color just so you can see it a little better. -5x times 4, -5x times -x. -5x times 4 plus -5x times -x. So now as we multiply, when we do this, you multiply the numbers together. So -5 times 4 is -20, and the x just stays. Here, -5 times remember that's a -1x. -5 times -1 is +5. And x times x is x squared. Usually when we have expressions like this, we like to put the x squared first. So 5x squared minus 20x. There we go. Let's go ahead and do number 5. Again, this one looks a little odd because there's no number listed in front here. But remember, when there's no number listed in front of a variable, that's a 1. So the same thing happens here. There's a -1. So -1 times -3y and -1 times 9. So I'm going to write that out again. -1 times -3y plus -1 times 9. This is a little bit faster just because the numbers are a little bit nicer than all the x's up there. -1 times -3 is +3, and then y. And -1 times 9 is -9. If you wanted to write it as 3y plus -9, that's also okay, but that does look a little weird or odd with a plus and a minus right next to it. So if it's a plus and negative, a lot of times we will just make it into a minus. And then our last example for the day is number 6. This one, as it looks, it's a little bit more complicated. They get a little more complicated as we go. This one has 2 sets of distributive property that then after we're done, we're going to combine those. So 5 times x, 5 times 3, and -2 times x, and -2 times -8. So now, perhaps I'll show you what maybe we'll do more in the future, or that some of you can do right now, is take 5 times x, that's 5x, and 5 times 3 is 15. That's the first one. The second one, -2 times x, maybe you want to think of it as plus a -2x. Again, plus a negative ends up being a minus, but we can keep it like that for now. And then a -2 times -8. The symbols or the signs get very tricky, so you have to remember that this is a -2 that you're multiplying by a -8 to get a +16. Once we have this, we're going to combine like terms. So we don't have to go through and list them all out unless we ask you to. But when we combine like terms, we're looking for the ones that have the same variables. Well, 5x and negative 2x do. So we're going to add those two together. 5x plus negative 2x, or 5x minus 2x is 3x. And then, also like terms, 15 and 16. So then 15 plus 16 is 31. And that is our simplified expression. You cannot go any further on all four of these because notice the first term always has a variable here, especially in 3, 5, and 6. So even just talking about number 6, the first one has a variable, there's an x, but there's no x for this 31. So you can't combine them. We're done. Same thing with number 3. When we go back up to there, the first term, this negative 4y, has a y. The second term has only an 8. So we cannot combine negative 4y and 8. We have to just look and say, hey, we're done. So look for like terms to combine. Once you have them combined, then you can have your final answer here.